Today, I want to talk about something that sits underneath a lot of internet chaos, but somehow rarely gets named directly. It's one of those things that explains a lot once you see it and kind of ruins your ability to unsee it afterward. All right, so we spend a lot of time here on this channel talking about bad actors. Like messy creators, scandals, cancellations, so called apology videos, and redemption arcs that last anywhere from 2 weeks to, let's say, generously a month. But underneath all of that is a system that doesn't care about morality, intent, or harm. It cares about good old attention. So today we're talking about how the algorithm rewards bad behavior, why that isn't actually new, and what that means for why internet culture keeps repeating the same mistakes over and over again. I do want to preface that this isn't a call out video and it's not a single case study. What this is about is the structure that quietly makes bad behavior profitable. So let me ask you this. Have you ever watched someone do something completely unhinged online and immediately thought, yeah, this is going to do numbers? Not this is good or this is right. Just a very calm, very resigned, oh, the algorithm is going to love this. I'm sure we have all recognized that feeling at least once in our online lives, even if we hate it and are watching purely out of disbelief. And I hate to say it, but that instinct is kind of the problem because the algorithm doesn't promote good or bad content. It's a machine, to put it plainly. Its job is to promote content that keeps people watching, clicking, sharing, and arguing. Outrage is efficient. Shock is efficient. Bad behavior is extremely efficient. The algorithm isn't moral. It can't identify ethics or intent. What it is very good at, unfortunately, is optimization. It loves efficiency. People are responsible for their actions. That's a fact. And I'm not debating that. But the system quietly rewards the actions that perform. And at a certain point, chaos stops being accidental and starts becoming a strategy. Now, as I was researching for this video and writing my thoughts down, my history brain kicked in and got me thinking. The pattern here is weirdly familiar. The internet didn't invent this problem. It just sped it up and made it measurable. Attention has always been rewarded over accuracy. Yellow journalism in the late 19th and early 20th centuries thrived on exaggeration, fear, and scandal because strong reactions sold papers. Pamphlets spread rumors because outrage moved faster than nuance. Public trials and executions were treated like spectacles because people showed up. And one of the clearest historical parallels here that I thought of are moral panics. Like with comic books in the 1950s. Suddenly, superheroes and horror comics were framed as corrupting the youth. Parents panicked, Congress held hearings, and the industry responded by creating a self-censorship code just to survive. The panic sold attention, and the coverage became the story. Then, in the late 1970s, the arcade game Death Race caused a media frenzy because players ran over little stick figures. Newspapers acted like society itself was collapsing. Was it absurd? Yes. Did it generate outrage and attention? Also yes. The 1990s gave us Mortal Kombat, graphic fatalities, digitized characters, congressional hearings, and eventually the ESRB rating system.
Fatality.
The controversy was not just about the game, it was about how sensationally it was reported. And then in the early 2000s, shooter games like Call of Duty were blamed after every major tragedy. Coverage spiked, panic escalated, audiences consumed it. The games themselves rarely matched the hysteria. The point is not that concern is never valid. It's that spectacle has always been profitable. The difference now is speed and data. Today, we can see in real time how many people click, share, comment, or react. Outrage is no longer just emotional, it's measurable. If moral panic performs, it escalates. If controversy gets clicks, controversy becomes strategy. Now, a modern example of this dynamic, I think, is lolcow culture. A lolcow is someone whose behavior becomes reoccurring entertainment, not because they are powerful, but because people can reliably provoke or mock them. What's interesting is that lolcow culture sits at the intersection of three incentives. The platform rewards engagement, the audience rewards spectacle, and the ecosystem rewards escalation. You end up with absurd situations, like Discord servers tracking what sandwich someone ate, or people sending intentionally ridiculous merch just to get a reaction. Entire threads roasting someone for mismatched socks like it's a crime against humanity. One example of a lolcow, even though he intentionally entered the sphere rather than it being given to him, I think would be Nikocado Avocado. He started out online as a vegan and accomplished violinist, and got the taste of fame when he started doing non vegan mukbangs. From there, he created an outrageous character that he played every day for years, where he would eat massive amounts of food, fight with his partner, and have massive breakdowns on camera, and basically just rage bait the entire internet. The more people mocked him, the more ridiculous he got until one day, out of nowhere, he showed up with having lost all of the weight he gained with no one knowing. And I bring him up because I think he's a great example of someone that saw how profitable rage bait and bad behavior speckles can be on the internet. And he milked that strategy dry. It's chaos, but it's pattern chaos. Reaction drives more reaction. Platforms profit. The audience stays engaged. The person at the center is blamed, but they still perform. Historically, this looks a lot like public humiliation, just with better Wi Fi and monetization. Lolcows are not just internet oddities. They're a case study in what happens when algorithms reward reaction over reflection. Another example is early YouTube shock humor. In the late 2000s and early 2010s, monetization was inconsistent, moderation was loose, and the fastest way to get noticed was to be shocking. Edgy jokes, exaggerated characters, extremely clickable, pranks that made absolutely no sense but were extremely clickable. Things like cursed life hacks, staged fights with strangers in public, completely ridiculous, deeply chaotic, and wildly effective. Think creators like FuzzyTube, Logan Paul, etc. Shock humor didn't exist in a vacuum. The algorithm rewarded watch time, clicks, and engagement. Creators escalated accordingly. Jokes got more extreme. Characters got louder. Lines that should have been stop signs turned into stepping stones. As of this episode going up, I did a case study on Colleen Ballinger. And in cases like Colleen's and other online comedians like Shane Dawson, this dynamic is very visible. The jokes, the characters, the audience participation were not hidden. They were normalized because they worked. Early YouTube shock humor shows us that bad behavior is not always individual. Sometimes it's structural. The algorithm notices the attention first, and it likes what it sees, so it spreads it out for all to see. Here's the uncomfortable part of the story. The algorithm learns from us. That sounds very apocalyptic to say, but it's true. Every hate watch counts. Every share to a friend that says, "Can you believe this?" counts. And every clip reposted out of context counts too. Attention doesn't distinguish between support and disgust. That's why outrage culture is so hard to escape. It's why apology videos rarely fix anything. Sometimes the apology performs better than the original scandal, which is not ideal. We end up in a cycle where bad behavior is condemned socially but rewarded algorithmically. Redemption arcs feel strange because platforms profit from the mess more than the resolution. So, if there's one big takeaway here, it's this: the algorithm doesn't create bad behavior, it rewards it. Once it's rewarded, then it spreads. Understanding that doesn't excuse the harm, but it does explain why the same patterns keep repeating across platforms, creators, and decades. As long as attention equals value, Spectacle will always win. And the real, very uncomfortable question is, what do we choose to amplify even when we're watching critically, ironically, or just out of pure disbelief? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. We have another case study coming up that you don't want to miss. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.